Hi, this is Ashley Catman, and I'm here to walk through the various steps of my course design in abnormal psychology. This course is also noted as PSY 223, and all of the components and assignments, course matter that I'm going to walk through today is all outlined in the previous assignments, but this is the visual representation. So first, the course description is the very first thing that students dive into, which is the overview. And it just provides an outline, a generalized understanding of what abnormal psychology is. Students have already taken the prerequisite psychology, so it is directly related to this course. Also note that they begin this course by exploring the history, research methods, and basically the foundational concepts that I'll cover here in a moment. And then it's noted that they will use this foundational concepts to dive deeper into using the DSM-5 and various models to diagnose mental disorders and provide treatment options. And then I like the little note at the end that basically says, it takes a while to actually become a clinician. Please do not use this one course as something to diagnose people in your personal life. So I think that's important there. For the learning objectives, students would go to the Start Here module and scroll down and click the syllabus. I already have it pulled up. So these are and this is the syllabus, as you can see. This is the CPOs, which are course performance objectives that are broken down into measurable performance objectives that apply to each assignment, learning activity, and assessment within this format. The learning objectives do directly align with Bloom's revised taxonomy because they use the nouns, and there is a various higher order and lower order thinking skills outlined here. For example, to define abnormal psychology or identify, using that word identify is on that remember lower level, whereas comparing and contrasting is in that analyze, evaluate level of Bloom's, and applying, so using the diagnostic criteria to respond to situations in which students do in their course project. So both higher level and lower level order thinking skills are here and presented within the assignments. Each module begins with a basic statement of what they are going to do. And noted here, they'll begin with the basics. So starting with the basics, starting with the foundation is important to grasp concepts and future lessons, just like math. So students first dive into Module 1 overview. Again, there's just a small little statement here and a big note that they're going to use the modules 1 and 2 throughout the entire course. So just kind of drives their focus to, hey, you're going to need to know these terms, you're going to use this material, you're not just reading through and getting through it. So the MMPOs are listed here as well for them to walk through and just see what they're going to do and how it's all connected. And then there is a read, review, and complete section down here. So for the very first thing that the students need to do, there is an OER. So if they click what is abnormal psychology, it brings up the chapter associated with this OER, so it's free to them. Additionally, if they navigate to the contents matter over here, you'll see that Module 1, Module 2, and Module 3, so this is actually what is abnormal psychology. That's our foundational components in my Module 1. But then in the text, the OER, these two sections, the models and the clinical assessment, diagnosis, and treatment, are two separate lessons within Module 2 in my course. The PowerPoint slides, if students click this, they'll download. They are, I already did this, I apologize. They are already implemented in here. This is directly from the OER resource that was provided for the instructors. The learning materials, so this goes right to that Module 1, and then the assignments. There's also a study guide that students can use as an additional resource. And the summative assessment exam 1 questions are directly from this study guide. So if we go back to Module 1, and we navigate to Foundations of Abnormal Psychology, as outlined in my previous assignments, the students began with an interactive, a digital tool, flip cards. What do you know about mental illness? So start to connect that personal view, that personal experience, and let's say they're like, I can't do anything for a person with a mental health issue. They'll hover over that, and then there's a statistics that's presented, and they find out that it's all myths. If they want to explore more myths, that is down here. And then this is an entire lesson. So they will walk through, for example, they'll start with understanding abnormal psychology. They'll continue to reflect on their past experiences. What did they use? What mental health language did they use to be inappropriate or appropriate for abnormal behavior, things that they thought, might not fit into the social norm? They look at how to reduce stigma, because stigma is applied through abnormal behavior. As you can see, the links to the textbook are here as well for them. Portions of the PowerPoint slide that I just showed are included as images, and then so are additional resources. So they'll work through the understanding abnormal psychology. They'll click through the drop-down menus as they work through the material. The history of mental illness is the next tab. They'll use this thing link that I did a screencast for the accessibility. So that is there. And then they're introduced to a podcast if they would like to dive into that. And then the research methods are here again with a similar format. So they're starting to learn how to navigate each module in Module 1. And there are also multiple means of presentation and multiple means of engagement directly related to UDL. So one of the formative assessments is the historical analysis. Here, students are provided, what do I want you to do? I want you to review the information within Module 1, that one lesson. It explains why do I want you to do it. So basically, focus on exploring those foundational concepts, and then how do I want you to do it. So it provides options for a presentation format. They are to select 3 of the areas and include the dates. And they can get that information directly from the text and the thing link and the additional resources. They're going to look at 2 significant components or shifts within those 3 eras. And then write a 1 paragraph explaining a research design that could be used for future treatment or initiatives, and noting advantages and limitations. So students are using all of the material within that lesson to directly connect their learning. Also, for rubrics, on the student view, when students click it, the rubric comes up for them. But for my view, for the instructor view, I have to go to the rubrics separately. So the historical analysis, which is linked, has associations, cannot be deleted, so it is linked. If we go to this rubric, it asks or shows different categories here. So the distinguished would be that there were 3 eras, there were dates, there were full descriptions, what is the future impact, what are the mechanics of that assignment, and to provide feedback. And this is again a sample course that I created, so these are all instructors. But if I were to use the drop-down menu and hit enter grades, if they submitted an assessment or a submission, it would be here, and then I would click to evaluate them based on the rubric that I just presented, which is here. So we would look at the rubric, score them appropriately, which would tally the grade, and then I would provide feedback and publish. I also like to use the upload feature. For example, if they need help with APA, I just remind them or could directly connect where that APA resource is for them to dive back to. In the Module 2, they have, again, that overview. They have a short blurb at the top, the MPOs, the read review completes, the study guides, and there are 2 study guides because there are 2 lessons here. So, and this is moving after Module 2, they move away from the foundational components. So, for example, models of abnormality, a similar format. They dive into the biological model, again, another thing link. The psychological model, there's a video, there are additional resources here. The sociocultural model, again, drop downs, and if they want to dive further into it. And then how do they tie it all together? So we look at a biopsychosocial model and basically looking at what is the benefit of not just using one unidimensional model to explain abnormal behavior. It's best to look at an eclectic approach and use a multidimensional model. So again, this is just to show you that these are all in here, similar formats, but a variety of resources here. And these were all outside resources that I provided on the previous formative assessment for Component 5. So if we look at, this is the second formative assessment, integrating models of abnormality, similar setup. Students will either read the article or the video and then answer these questions. The rubric for this assignment is located here. So did they answer all the questions thoroughly? Did they support with evidence, so including citations and references from all of the material? Could be the OER, it could be the supplemental resource links, or it could be the text, or something directly from the module. The mechanics again, and that's out of a 15-point assignment. So if we go back to a summative assessment, so to wrap up the Module 1 and Module 2, looking at a summative assessment for that, again, this is where they're going to walk away from or step out of the foundational concept. So Exam 1 is Modules 1 and 2, but I have to access it like this for a good view. We look at Exam 1 here. There are directions. There's a pool of questions that I created again directly from the study guides and that OER source and the content within the module. So it's all directly connected. There are just supplemental resources in the modules. This is a matching, and then the written response questions are down here. I do provide the answers to the questions for adjunct instructors or anyone else who might be teaching this course, and that way it also keeps me in check and I can remember exactly what I need to be looking for that. Additionally, one more thing that I just want to show you real quick while I only have a minute and a half left. In the course projects, just so you can see it, there is the information instructions here, but it is a scaffolding approach to this final project. So they have the outline in the resources worksheet, but this final course project has a similar format, just like the other assignments. They're going to, this is again a summative assignment for that scaffolding approach. They're going to use that one topic that they dove into in the DSM-5 for steps 1 and 2. Then they're either going to create an engaging presentation with the visuals and graphs and a voiceover, or a 3 to 6 page paper, and references and citations are pushed to be in APA format, so they're learning that. The following sections are listed here. The additional resources to assist them are there, and then the rubric. And as you can see, the rubric outlines the overview and information, societal implications, and then that case study, and then looking at professional communication styles. Thank you, and I hope you've enjoyed this presentation.